Alright, so I want to share what I've done to make a rarity spinner. Um, I've done a lot of work on this. It took me a while to get, and it's only because looking at a lot of other people's codes to help was pretty hard to say the least. They weren't very great at putting it in simpler terms. So now here I am going to share with you guys a really easy and basic form of doing a spinner with rarity. It may not look crazy, it may not look nice, but it is something basic and it is something that uh, took me a while for the coding aspect to get, and I hope to share that with you guys. So right here we're just gonna enter a place I already have. I called it rarity spinner test just because that's what I'm doing. So there you go. We go in, load it up. Alright, so what we have here is the game, obviously. We have the game, and what I want to start with is to actually come here and just look at the starter GUI, and we're going to actually create a screen GUI. So we're just going to hit the plus, and we're going to hit screen GUI. Doesn't have to be named anything, just leave it screen GUI. So we've made our screen GUI. Now we have obviously results and button that have just been displayed when I made one. That's obviously because I've already have it made. Under screen GUI, you want to just, under that, you're just going to want to make a background. Or a frame. Sorry, yeah, you make a frame. And I just called it background. You don't have to name it anything. I just do it because it makes it simpler for me later on, so I can call it background instead of saying screen GUI frame. Right? So later on I can just say screen GUI background. Inside the background we have a text button and a result, and you will see that right here. So once you create your text button, it'll just move it from the corner of your screen into the middle if you like. I'm just doing this to make it easy for myself. And then you're gonna have the result, and the result is called a label. I just changed the name of label into result. That way when I go to find it next time, it'll just be labeled as result instead of label. This helps later on when you have multiple labels and you need to find the label that you want. This says what it is, and I can find it easily. Alright, so inside that text button you see, there is a local script, and I just call it spinner. You can call it whatever you want. It doesn't have to be crazy. I call it how it is. It's gonna do the spinner, so that's what I did. And you're gonna see that I already have code written in it, and that's because I want to just take the code that I have made already, and I just want to simplify it, or simply explain to you what I've done and how basic it is and how easy it is to just make a rarity spinner. So we're gonna start with local give item. Now local give item is just saying, hey, we now have a name here. It has nothing in it, it has nothing, it is nothing, but it will be something when I make it into something. So later on I'll say give item equal to something. So right now it has no purpose. Later on I will give it a purpose. Right here I call it races. This is because later on I'll have a game that I'm making with races. So like races like demon, angel, etc. So for right now it's called races, but inside that I have animals like horse, goat, bull, dragon, and so on. You get the idea. So you can name it whatever you want in here. I have animals just because it's easy enough. Inside, just remember you say rotations and then whatever you want to say. So I said horse, and then on the outside comma, and then you go to the next thing if you have another thing. And once you get to the end, just remember you don't need a comma because that's the end of your list. If you want to add something, then just say comma and then return and make your next line of code. So that's our list. It's called races. Now we're gonna start the function, and this is what's gonna start everything. So right here we have script, which remember, script is what we have, and the script is inside of the text button. So it's going to say script dot parent, and remember the script's parent is text button, and then we're going to say dot mouse click, and that's because when you mouse click, it's going to know that you mouse clicked the button. So once you click the button, it says mouse click. And then inside the code, once you say mouse click, you're going to say connection, or connect, sorry, and then function. And that's going to start your function. Alright, so now we're inside the function. Inside the function, I'm going to say local time is equal to 0.025. And that's just because later on we're going to use it as a timer. Next we have local delay equals 0. You don't need this, as this comment says right here. Just to explain it a little bit farther. You don't need this. I don't need it. I never use it. It's just here. It can be used if you are doing something a little bit more advanced, but obviously for the sake of this video we're not doing anything advanced, and I'm trying to explain something super effectively and super beginner-like. So once we have that, you don't need it. Under that we'll say for I is equal to 1, 8, do. So that's creating a for loop. So what's happening is I is going to go from 1 to 8. So each time it loops through this for loop, right? Each time it loops through this for loop, it's going to loop 8 times. Inside that 8 times of loop, it's going to say local item, and we're just creating that. That's just a storage, remember? It has nothing until I give it something. And then I'm going to say local random race. I'm just calling it how it is. I'm trying to get something random, so I'm trying to get a random race from our races value. And I'm going to say equal to math.random 100. And what that's saying is math.random 100 is any value between 0 and 100. I'm going to pick a random value, and we're going to set that random value that we get to random race. So once we get our random race value, we're going to say, hey, remember that item that we have up here? We're going to now set it to random race. And remember, random race now has a value. So random race could be 1, could be 87, could be 56, anything. So item is now equal to that value. And say the value is 5. Well, this if statement says, well, if your item is less than or equal to 5, then give item, remember we have give item right here. Well, give item is now equal to our list, remember races is our list, right here. And then the 1 inside the brackets is going to be the first item in our list. So because our value was 5, or because it was 5, anything that was less than or equal to 5, go into this thing and say give item is equal to the first item in the races list. So it is now horse. So give item is now equal to horse. We're doing this for loop 8 times. You don't have to. It's just because I wanted to give it a little bit more randomness. I know that takes away from a rarity spin. Don't worry about that just yet. You don't have to do 8 times. You can just do once. So just change it to 0 and 1. And it'll just loop once because you want your random number. So it'll loop once, and in that one loop, you will get your one random number, and it'll get one of these if statements. So say the random number, again, is, we'll say 57. 57 is larger than 50 and is less than or equal to 100. So you're making the give item equal to the 8th item in our races list, which is dog. Alright, so now that we know that, outside of the loop, once that loop is finally done, and we finally have our value, and our given item is now equal to an item in our list, we're going to go into our next for loop. Now this for loop is here so we can do a timer for a counter, and this is purely for the visualization of the spinner. So we're going to do for I equals 1, 75, do. And what that says is, for I is equal to 1, it's going to add all the way up to 75, because 75 is our end goal of this loop. So it's going to go through this loop 75 times. And inside that loop, we're going to say script. Remember, our script is inside the text button. So we're going to say script.parent. So script.parent.parent, which means the background. And then I'm going to say result because that's what my label is called. It's called result. I'm going to say script.parent.parent.result.text. And when I say result.text, that means that it's going to take the text inside of the results, or inside of result. Right there. Right here. Sorry, yeah, right here. So, once we have that, right, we're going to go here. We're going to say script.parent.parent.result.text is equal to races, which is our list, and then do math.random, and then 1 of how many items there are in our list. So in our list, there are 8 items. It is going to pick between those 8 items at random every time it loops through this for loop. So it will pick a random item in our races list 75 times because we are looping 75 times. Now we're going to make another storage, and we're just going to call it text. And what we're going to do is we're going to equal that text to give item. Now remember, give item can be anything because give item can equal to the 8th item of our races list. So just say for the fun of it again, we got 57, right? So 57 is greater than 50 and is less than or equal to 100. That means our give item is now equal to the 8th item in our list. That means we have dog. Give item is equal to dog. Now in here, we just told it that text is equal to give item, which means text is equal to dog. So we already have our result, but remember, this is purely for the visualization to tell the player, hey, I'm spinning for something. So we're just going through this 75 times. And each time, it's going to add 1 to I. So I is equal to 1, and then I is equal to 2 for each time it loops through this for loop. It's going to do that 75 times. Once it hits 50, I'm going to then say time is equal to 0.025. And that's going to start slowing down our timer. So every time it loops, it's going to slowly get slower. So for every time it loops, it's going to get slower. And once I gets to 55, it's then going to make the time equal to 0.05, and that means it's getting even slower. And then we're going to get to 60, and we're going to make the time 0.075. That's going to make it even slower. And then from when we get to 65, we're going to make the time equal to 0.3. That's even slower. Once we get to 70, we're going to make it to 0.6, even slower. And then we finally get to 75, and that means we have reached our end goal, correct? So once we reach 75, notice how these all say end at the end, correct? That's because we finally got past 70. We have now reached 75. So inside this if statement, we are going to say, if I is equal to 75, then do script, and remember, script.parent, so script, right? Script.parent, right? Dot result, because that's what my label is called, dot text is equal to text, right? Because that's what I made it. I made it text is equal to text. So now the label's text will now equal dog, because remember, our text is equal to give item, and our give item was equal to dog. And text is equal to dog now. So now our result will say that we have dog. Just a little tip here. This right here says wait and then time, and that's because we gave it time all the way up here. If you do not have this, it will skip any iteration from I1 to 75 and immediately give you your result. So, as long as you have this here, you will iterate through all your race items at random until you finally hit 75 and then give you a result. If you do not have this, it will just immediately give you a result, which is okay if you want to make a skip, right? So that's just kind of like a little thing to note. So now that we know everything, I'm going to go back here and we're just going to hit play. Alright? Nothing special. We haven't changed anything, and we're going to hit play. We load our thing, and now we're going to hit our button. And remember, when we hit our button, the function will start. So once we click it, our thing goes and spins. We'll call it spinning. And it just randomly iterates through our list, and we finally got sheep. That was our final, that's our result. So we got sheep. Where's sheep in our thing? It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is the 5th item on the list, which means that our random item in this one loop, the random item, or the random number between 0 and 100 was between 20, was greater than 20, and was less than or equal to 30. So it gave us the race item number 5, which was sheep. And to show the visualization, we went through, we said at random, go between the races in our race list. And then we're going to say that text is equal to whatever given item that we had, which was sheep. And then we just went through the visualization and finally ended with that was our result, which was sheep. Now if I take away our weight, oops, we gotta stop the game first. So if I take away our weight, correct, and then I hit play, you will see that once I hit the button, it'll immediately give a result. We got bull. If we press it again, dog. Press it again, dog. Press it again, dog. Press it again, cat. Press it again, bull. Press it again, dog. Just see how we immediately get our result. And also notice that dog is almost always showing up every time we press the button. That is really good to note because this right here is also our rarity or our chance. So 0 to 5, right here, 0 to 5 is a 5% chance that you will get item number 1. From anything greater than 5 to less than or equal to 10, you will get item number 2, which is still 5%. 10 to 15, that is 5%, and you will get race number 3. 15 to 20, that is 5%, and you'll get item number 4. And then we finally go up a bit. 20 to 30, that's 10% chance that you'll get item number 5. 30 to 40, 10% chance that you get item number 6. 40 to 50, 10% chance you get item number 7. And 50 to 100, notice how that's a big gap now, 50 to 100, for a 50% chance that we get race item number 8. And that is dog. You can always change it, make it a bigger gap if you want. If you want this number to be bigger, so you have, so it's a lot more rarer, or there's a lot more room to change these values, you just make this set to any higher number. So we'll say 200, and that means this has to be 200, right? So if we just leave it like this and keep 200, you will almost always get dog, and it'll be very unlikely, but a probable chance that you will get anything above that, because now we have 50 to 100. That is about a 75% chance that you will get dog every time. So just remember, if you want to make it bigger, that's all you have to do. Change the math.random value to a bigger number, and then just make sure that your last list, or your last item, gets to 200, or whatever item that you set up here. I just leave it as 100 because I don't have that many things to give. So if we just play again, or if we go back and just leave it as 200 and leave this as 200, and just for the fun of it, we'll keep the weight out. That way we don't have to go and wait for the list to go through. We will do this, leave that, and we will hit play. And all we have now is we just press our little button there, and we get horse. Wow, that's a very low chance to get that. Now we got dog. We'll press it again, we got pig. Wow, okay. Dog, 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 dragon. Okay, so obviously you're gonna get dog a lot, and it's still, there's always a chance that you'll always get different things, right? Because that's how we made it. Dog, pig, dog, dog, and just notice that we always get dog, and that's because we made it a 75% chance that you're always going to get it, because we made it out of 200. So yeah, that was the basic spinner that I have. I hope you guys really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys got something out of it, or at least I really hope so. I'm fairly new to this. It took me a while to make this code, and that's because looking at other people's codes and seeing this, they just overcomplicate it so much. And I understand, but when there's a way to make it simpler, that's how I would prefer the code. So that's what I did here, and I made it simpler, and I just wanted everybody else to know that if you're trying to do this spinner, there is a simple way to do it, and that is this way. And obviously you can change it. Nobody's code is alike. I just wanted to share that this is how I did it, and it was very simple and basic. Right. So next time, what I want to do is I want to try to make a data store for the next video. And that is that anytime you have something to save, we're going to save it to the server. And then when you leave and then come back to the game, we can load what you saved. I think that's great, and I honestly am very happy to work with that, get to know what it is. It's like making a back end of a game. You really need save systems to make a game really great. Obviously seen with a lot of different things. Phantom Forces has a save system, obviously. You have levels in that game, you have experience, you have to save that somehow, and that's how they do it. So yeah, that was this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it was very educational. It took me a while. It didn't take me that long, guys. It probably took me about a day, maybe a little bit more, to finally get this code to work. I'm very happy to be doing this, and I'm here to just enjoy coding. I'm here to enjoy the little side projects that I make, and maybe on Roblox, but hey, you're still coding in Lua, and that's something to learn. Programming languages are all different, but when you know a basic knowledge of it, you can almost use that basic knowledge in every other coding language. I have a very big background of C++ coding because I make animatronics. That helped me understand somewhat what this game coding is, which is Lua coding. I was able to understand it really well. Obviously, some people are going to see it and go, wow, what am I looking at? That's why I'm here to explain it. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I hope you guys are going to like the next video. It's just just like this video, I'm going to try to make a very basic data store code that works well. And I hope I really enjoy it. And I do enjoy coding. So yeah, I hope you guys are there. Thank you.